Okay, so here we are for part two of our Scorpio discussion. Let me know if you can hear me okay by just giving me a little thumbs up or some kind of a notice in the chat. Let me know if it sounds okay. So we left off talking about some of the mysteries of Scorpio and how we can work with Scorpio in dreams. And now, what I'm going to go into is a little bit of the healing aspects of Scorpio. So this video is called "Why I Love Scorpio," and I will get there. But so let's look at how Scorpio does healing work. So Scorpio being involved with the underworld, below the surface, this is where we find our true power. And it is that regenerative force that happens in the dark. So it's a psychological psyche, meaning soul. It has to do with our soul making its presence known and felt through our bodies. So it's the way of knowing that has to do with gut instincts, the intuition that happens in our gut. So if you look at the symbol of Scorpio, we go from Virgo with an M and it kind of curves inward. And then we have Scorpio, which turns into the M with the tail pointing outward. So this has a meaning and shows us a lot of the mysteries of Scorpio just by looking at that symbol. So in Virgo, there is this waviness also tells us about the intestinal process of digestion, how we're sorting through different information, we're sorting through the materials of life. So we have that little digestive process. And then with Scorpio, we take it outward. So we're still in it still is a digestive process. And what you'll find in it is what moves it out. So why and how does Scorpio relate with healing? So is that mystery that dives deep below the surface. So any type of disease, dis-ease, or degenerative process related with the body, the wounds of the body, there's something below the surface of every wound and every I want to say dysfunction, but everything that we find that causes pain and suffering, there's always going to be something below the surface of that. And Scorpio is what dives below the surface. So this is where the shamanic practices come in. I was going to say shamanic practitioner because what a shamanic practitioner does is go into the underworld to find your spirit guide, to find your soul, to do what is a recapitulation, remembering. So sometimes we go into the underworld to dissolve. Sometimes we go into the underworld to dismember. And what a shamanic practitioner can do is guide you through that process, which is essentially the same thing that we do when we're working with plants, doing alchemical processes of taking a plant, doing a dissolution, taking the substance out of it, burning what's left over from the liquids, burning it to an ash, bringing it back in to reconstitute it with there's this whole process that happens that a shamanic practitioner can take you through with your own psyche. Some of those shamanic practices get to the root. And what I have seen in my own journey with shamanic practices, I was stuttering on the word because the course that I took was called Shamanic Practitioner something spiral. I can't remember how she called it, but some of what happened in that was completely, I want to go up here and say blew my mind, but it's more of an internal felt process. The thing about Scorpio is that it's our body's wisdom. The body is the soul. The body is the soul. So what is soul? The body. The body. So spirit being the light of consciousness. And I say light of consciousness because this is where light merges with matter. Light is that spirit, the sun, that merges with the soil, with the memory, water. The soil, the soul. This is where the seed, which is going to contain a code, which is basically light, is going to merge with the darkness of the soil being the memory, memory of our ancestors, the bones, the flesh, the hair, the roots, the bones, the stones, all of these things that are in the soil. Actually, it's not like some weird metaphysical thing. It's actually the bones of our ancestors, the hair of our ancestors, the blood of our ancestors. All of these things are actually what makes up soil. So when you bring the seed and the soil together, now you have the soul of the plant, which is the body of the plant, which is the sulfur aspect in alchemy. So for us, the light of consciousness, the light of awareness, I talk about this in the Tantra Yoga course. The light of awareness merges with the dark mother, of our physical body. And that's where, when I say the soul is the body, so you look at your face, the structure of your bones, the way your hair is, the way you hold your posture, it will tell everything about a person. This is why in Ayurveda and also in Chinese medicine, some of the ways that we'll do a diagnostic is just by watching how the person walks, hearing the sound of their voice, looking at the moisture of their hair and their skin, looking at their nails, looking at the tongue and the teeth. Through all of this, we'll find out what is the current state of their soul. The body is the soul. So it tells us, it's not a reflection of it or something like that. It's actually, you can read the body and tell a lot about what's going on with the person psychologically. Now, this is where we go into Scorpio, because it has to do with that the underbelly of consciousness. Because if my shoulders are rounded in, this is something happening in my gut. Actually, like, you feel the contraction that happens. And for me to open all of that up, it creates a vulnerability. Now I'm exposing my guts. Now I'm exposing my heart. I'm opening myself up to the world. So with Scorpio being the 8th house, Scorpio being the 8th sign. Don't get confused between the houses and the signs. It's something that a lot of people just instantly translate over, and they're not the same thing. Of course, because of correspondence, there is a correspondence, but they're not the same thing. So with the 8th sign, meaning that we went from the 1st all the way over past the 7th, which is this the process of becoming materialized. From 1 to 7, we have built this structure of self. Now in 7, we get into other. In 8, we get into merging with the other. So in the 8th sign of Scorpio, we get so deep into somebody else that we can actually, how does he say this to me? That I know when you walk into the room how you're feeling. I know that you just left a room because your scent is still there. This is where when you're so deeply connected with somebody, you're dreaming with them. You're dreaming sometimes if I've been with somebody and we're sleeping in the same bed for a while, I'll receive dreams that are inclusive of that person's soul journey also. So in Scorpio, we merge so closely. We're sharing resources. We're sharing our resource of time, money, food. Often in Scorpio, this is where we are merging our resources with another person. And that's where a lot of the things come up with Scorpio that has to do with other people's money. It's because also when somebody dies, there's an inheritance left behind, and also this inheritance also includes our spiritual inheritance, things that are alive in your DNA, things that are alive in your bones, the wisdom of your bones. This wisdom of the bones goes more into Capricorn, but to say that the body is the soul is to also consider that the lineage of your ancestral lines, the places that you've been, the lands that make up the matter of your body, that wisdom is what the inheritance is. And my friend Marie was talking about when somebody dies in your maternal line, matter, again, we see the mother, which is related with the darkness, which is related with the soil and the underworlds. That when one of those from the maternal line dies, that there is more of an inheritance of our intuition, our abilities, and whatever those gifts are. A lot of times, the gifts that we have are found through crafting, through that Virgo, the initiation into Virgo, where we're learning how to craft something with our hands. So all of these signs progress. They are progressive into each other and build upon each other. And through the cycles of our life, we get more and more refined through going into these mysteries. So there's something about Scorpio that has to do with, I call it killing and healing. So in the Mayan culture, there is one of the nahuals is called Tihash. Tihash is known as the healer, but it's also the obsidian, they call the double-bladed knife, or I can't remember the other word for that, but basically it's a knife, a obsidian knife. And it cuts away the layers of fat and fluff and what we used to call in the military when you're riding cutting away the excess. I can't remember the word we used to say for basically like when